Welcome to Street Politics, the online podcast soon to go video, where we give you the truth about issues in Michigan and more importantly, Kalamazoo, where we are recording at. I'm SkitzoMichigan, joined today by Majyck Dee, Tony Montana, and together we are Street Politics. Hello world, and welcome to the truth. Let's get it going. We got some special guests that just brought up something I've never heard of, and a lactation doctor. Someone who, so before you give us the actual, explanation of what it exactly is, let me, the average Joe human, right, who never heard of this, take a wild shot in the dark. Now,
before we get into that, can we introduce our guests?
Yeah, would you do that for us, please?
Sure. We're joined today, this Friday, February 25th, last few days, Black Amplification Month, with Miss Sokhna Mabin, and also Miss Katie Pearson. They are certified lactation consultants with the Breastfeeding Coalition of Kalamazoo. And if I dice that up, excuse me, ladies, that is definitely a tongue twister for Friday. So, welcome to Street Politics.
Thank you so much. So, Majyck.
All right, Skitzo, go ahead and do your thing.
Yeah, so, I guess we're just going to jump right into it and have the ladies explain to me and everybody else what exactly is you do, lactation consultant. Do you work with those who mainly are like poor and impoverished, or do you run classes at Valley, or is it something like a doula or midwife? Like, what do you exactly? Can you explain it to us?
Do you want to start first, Sokhna?
Go ahead, Katie. You already started. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. Well, we both have different roles in our jobs, and then also, but then we're united at the coalition. Essentially, I provide breastfeeding services or breastfeeding support services for my clientele are mostly lower income demographic. And so I'm providing breastfeeding support services for a lot of families and lactating people who, have a lot of barriers to breastfeeding. And so it's kind of a very unique type of service that I provide because there are lactation consultants that get paid a lot of money, that people pay them. And I'm not one of those. I provide free lactation support services for low income folks. And I do home visiting too. Currently, because of COVID, I'm not doing home visiting, but under normal circumstances, and probably pretty soon here, I'll start home visiting back up.
So who funds it? Is this something like, you guys have a GoFundMe, or is this grants? Who's funding this gas money when you your homes?
So I work for a local organization. So I like, that's my day job, but the Breastfeeding Coalition, which I'm a co-chair of, which Sokhna is a co-chair of, that is a little different than the actual lactation services that we're providing. So I'll let Sokhna kind of talk about what she does.
Okay.
I have a quick question before, Sokhna, you answer that. Katie, when you say lactating people, I noticed you said people.
Yeah.
I would assume it's just pregnant women.
Well, obviously, like probably mostly, but I personally try to refer to folks who are breastfeeding or chest feeding, however they want to call it, as lactating people, just because there are people who are not identifying as female who are lactating and who do have babies. So just to be it's more of an inclusive way of talking about it. But I do say mothers and I do say moms typically quite frequently, but I'm trying to be really inclusive right now in this moment.
My next question was, could a man lactate? So could I physically have milk coming from my
all that.
Yeah.
That's a fabulous question. Let's get to all these
Is it a
amazing
fabulous
questions.
question? Please, this is
It is
introduction for you
so
to
good.
start.
We're gonna get into the physiology. I get a feeling we're gonna get into the physiology of this, Katie. So I'm also a lactation consultant, and I'm a doula also, which is not the same thing. So lactation consultant, we are strictly here to educate breastfeeding people about breastfeeding and support their babies. Maybe we meet with them and we help them breastfeed their babies. So it's not even during pregnancy, right? It's after the baby is born. So baby is born, and we help latch the baby. We assess a woman's breasts. We make sure that the baby's mouth and the mother's breast are coming together well. So we assess the baby's mouth, the shape of the baby's mouth. If the baby's able to latch, if there are any indications because of the baby's birth or any issues that they may have that may be an obstacle, say the baby is low birth weight, premature. Specifically, that would be if a baby's born before 38 weeks, sometimes they have trouble latching. They haven't coordinated their tongue and swallowing yet, right? So they're just not up to the age. A baby may be ill. A mother may be on medication. She may have had a cesarean and it's going to be delayed. There's all kinds of situations that come up. So we're here to promote breastfeeding. Infant feeding is what I call it as well, because we're really feeding the infant, right? And we want to make sure that our parents are actually educated about the difference between formula and breast milk, artificial food, and natural food that's made specifically for the baby from the mother's body. So breast milk is a very specific, incredible liquid that's made from a woman's body that's specifically for her baby. It's straight from her design, her DNA that the baby was made from, and it's made specifically. So for each child that she breastfeeds, there's a different type of milk that her body makes depending on the baby's needs. If the baby has a cold, if the baby has COVID, if the baby has the flu, her breast milk will be different for each baby and each feed.
What if she had triplets?
What if she has what?
Triplets.
Then she will work on feeding 3 babies.
I was just saying. You just told me that each baby.
Katie had twins.
I breastfed twins.
Okay.
No, I mean, there's 2, so I can't speak to triplets, but I've heard of it being done for sure. Absolutely.
Is this a course that can be taken at Valley? Like, how do you guys get so much information?
We are trained, and we're going deeply to become international breastfeeding consultants. This year, we're taking a board exam later this year. Thank you. So it's a real thing. And the more people are educated, perhaps we can really link families, pregnant people, back to breastfeeding again. So it's really what we came to talk about tonight, because we have this situation where we have contaminated formula, powdered formula, and we also have a shortage for containers and formula because of the pandemic and the supply chain. So this is a great moment to have this conversation.
Okay, so I'm glad you brought that up. I'm so Majyck, I gotta ask you something. We usually spend 10 minutes a topic, right? Mm-hmm. But it sounds like they got a lot of information.
So let's go.
Okay, there we go. So instead of the 10-minute breaks, I'm just gonna keep tabs and put us at that stop us at the half an hour mark. We usually have 3 topics, 10 minutes apiece, half an hour show. I'm just gonna call it when there's about 2 minutes left. So we're just gonna go with this, because I'm glad you brought up things about after breastfeeding. You brought about natural foods and eating healthy. So once the child is done breastfeeding, are you still with the mothers to teach them about clean eating, food with no hormones and GMOs, and about just herbs and natural things? How far, I want to know, how far along into the child's development are you guys involved?
I'll start answering if that's okay, Sokhna. So the organization I work for, I work with dietitians and nutritionists who do kind of carry on that conversation. However, Majyck actually knows me with like a different hat. I own an urban farm in Kalamazoo called Tabitha Farm. And so I've been pretty heavily involved in the food justice and food sovereignty movement in Kalamazoo. And I've done a lot of research. When I was at Western, I did a lot of research on community supported agriculture, specifically like urban community supported agriculture. And I can tell you that breast milk and breastfeeding is the first food. So they're kind of interchangeable. So when we have conversations with parents and lactating people about breastfeeding, and that conversation starts in pregnancy, you know, these ideas of clean eating, like you were saying, and herbalism, and like, you know, introducing natural ways of eating, natural ways of, you know, using, you know, herbs as medicine and stuff. And then also, you know, using food as medicine, essentially.
Yes.
These are interchangeable with breastfeeding. So, you know, if you're breastfeeding a baby, you're going to be really careful about what you're putting in your body. And then also it's kind of like a lifestyle, right? So there is really like a paradigm shift. If somebody is new to this, if they've never breastfed a baby, if this is their first baby, it really can be a paradigm shift for a lot of people, where they do change their lifestyle in a way, because they're breastfeeding. And then, you know, Sokhna put it perfectly. She mentioned when she was talking about formula, she used the terminology artificial food. That's what formula is. Formula is dead. It is devoid of anything living. Breast milk is a living liquid. It's not only the act of breastfeeding, there is this physiological process of hormones being exchanged, which also builds the baby's microbiome, but the actual breast milk itself is alive, and there's DNA in it, and DNA is exchanged. And so this is the foundation for a very clean eating lifestyle. Now, I will say, you know, my twins are 18 now, and, you know, one of them really enjoys gas station food. So I have no control over that now. But I will say I gave them a really good foundation. And so, you know, they don't get very sick often. So I don't know if you want to add anything to that, Sokhna.
Yeah, that's amazing. So breastfeeding, breast milk is the first food. It's the first food. I tell women, you made a baby, and now you're going to make the nectar that your baby needs. So there's a beginning milk called colostrum. It's only there for about 3 days. 3 days. And colostrum, when a woman latches a newborn baby, imagine, just out of the womb, wet, can't see, little marsupial baby crawling up, mommy, latches onto the breast. I mean, newborn babies, right? The cutest things on the planet. Latches. I know. Hey, look. Cute is another word when it comes to a newborn baby. Anyway, baby latches on, and her body releases nectar. Colostrum is a thick cream, tiny drops, and a newborn baby eats just 7, 10, 15 milliliters. Imagine the baby's tummy is the size of a marble. And this fluid somehow goes in drop by drop and begins to open up the baby's tummy, release and open up the baby's system, develop their brain, bring in all, I say it's the first inoculation. All the antibodies going from mama, like Katie said, DNA is exchanged. DNA is exchanged, and the microbia of this liquid is feeding the baby's whole body, feeding the gut biome. So we're going out as adults trying to eat organic food and vegan and all the things, drink probiotic fermented. This is what colostrum is. It's literally feeding. It is the first probiotic of a human. So the baby gets this, and just milliliters, just teaspoons of food. And then all of a sudden by day 5 or 6, that baby's drinking an ounce, y'all, of liquid. And you look at those breastfed babies, they are fat and clear and genius and growing and just incredible. And they have to eat every 3 to 4 hours because breast milk is a perfect food. It's perfectly absorbed into the baby's body. And they are just clear. So they have to eat 4 or 5 ounces by six months old.
So
every 4 or 5 hours.
I saw this. Is this why people buy breast milk, like bodybuilders?
So
like
I
people
saw
who work
something
out.
about
I see
that.
people
Like
put
it's
breast
a
milk in
thing.
shakes.
So you know what about that?
Yeah, I seen women freeze
People
it
do it.
and sell it in packs online to like
Yeah.
weightlifters.
So it's nutrient rich, but I will
Mhm.
tell you, it's not going to build the kind of body that a muscle person, a bodybuilder wants, because they're adults. Breast milk is made for infant humans. It has particular foods in it, particular ingredients that are made only to grow a newborn human until they're ready to eat food. So that's just one of those gimmicky things I think that the sports people have gotten. Yes, it's amazing, cholesterol, all the things. Horse breeders will not buy a colt if it has not received the mother's colostrum. They'll be like, wow, that was a champion horse, but you didn't breastfeed it, so we're out. They will not buy it. If an animal, a breeder doesn't, their infant animals don't receive the colostrum from the mother, these champion, they won't buy them. They're not going to be fully, they won't reach their potential. Can
Okay,
you
so let
imagine?
me ask you.
Let me jump in here right quick for a second. Yeah.
Go ahead.
So why isn't this pushed more in the hospitals for women to breastfeed?
So the hospital system, you know, like any other business, there's a business side of a hospital system. And many hospitals are right now trying to go baby friendly. They're waking up to the health of it. They're moving away from that contractual side of things. And for the now that we know in the pandemic, when we're going to need to make the human race survive, the World Health Organization I believe, Katie, was it like around April or May of 2020 when we were going into lockdown, right? They were like, we're in trouble. The World Health Organization made a statement. Breastfeeding may be the only way to save the human race in another pandemic. We can't do this again. That was 2 months into the pandemic. They didn't even know what it was like. And they were already saying, we're in trouble. I would actually like to see I would like to know how many babies we lost. We haven't seen all of the data, what happened over the last couple of years, but there's something very interesting about breastfeeding. And Katie, correct me if you know this, it's one or the other, okay? For women who had COVID, who were pregnant or breastfeeding their babies, the woman, the mother, the breastfeeding person has COVID. Her milk has a large quantity of an antibody that inhibits colonization of the virus in the baby's body. And then a breastfeeding person who got the vaccine, didn't have COVID, but got the vaccine, creates an abundant antibody that neutralizes the virus in her baby. So if a mother had COVID or if a mother had the vaccination, her breast milk is making something that's going to stop this virus, and it's making two different kinds. That's the mother's body without even inoculating the baby. So when I'm supporting a breastfeeding family in this pandemic, and right now that's what I share with her. I asked them, I said, did you have COVID? Did you get the vaccine? And I get to share how amazing her body is to just create always what her baby needs. Now, Skitzo, you asked how long, and Katie was getting a little bit into that. My theme about it is, so you can breastfeed a baby as long until they're finished, until they don't want to. Some women breastfeed their babies for a few weeks. We love if everybody would feed their baby for at least 6 months. 6 months is a milestone because it's when babies are getting teeth. And when you have teeth, it's kind of an indication you're ready for food. That's the age that your baby grabs your hamburger, grabs your food, grabs your chips right out of your hand. Why are you eating this? Why am I always getting breast milk? I'm hungry. So they're letting you know that they're ready to eat, but they may not be finished with breastfeeding. And then there are mamas who breastfeed their babies through toddlers, 3, 4, 5 years old. And that child is generally super confident, really, really clear in who they are, very brave, just really, really healthy, because it's not just a physical food or physiological nourishment, it's comfort, it's being with their parents, it's being held, it's being very close, it's going to bed at night. It's you fell down, let me hold you, baby, and baby just I need to connect. They're not ready to be out in the world by themselves yet, emotionally. You know, parents are freaking out. I used to freak out with my child, 6, 7 years old, just needed me to sit at the table with him to do homework. It would make me crazy. And I was like, he's not ready to be in the world. My breastfeeding at that point was sitting at the table with him until he got his math done. He used to make me crazy. But you know, he doesn't, but when he was 4 year old, I breastfed my children till they were 2. But then they were like 4, and he would just sit with his hand on my breast. playing a game or looking at TV. This is what they did. And then one day he didn't. And then he never did it again. And then he had friends, and then he wanted to go off to the birthday parties and all the things, but he didn't need me that way anymore. And I just feel like that was a handoff. You know, he's ready to be in the world, and then we're done. But it's a phenomenal thing.
That's how it is in nature.
Yeah.
That's nature.
Hey y'all, gotta take a pause for the cause. We'll be right back with Street Politics after these messages.
Hello everyone, this is Yancey Jr. at Young Kings Studio. You can find us at a location at 1725 South Burdick Street, Kalamazoo, Michigan, right across from the Salvation Army. It's a big purple building, you can't miss it. I also have a Facebook, which you can reach me at if you send a message for booking. I can send you the link. That will be Yancey Cash Out Kirk. And if you're looking for quality music to be done, if you're an artist or whatever, just come on down, stop down, and I will get you together. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention to you guys, I have a contact number that you can reach me at, 269-548-6444. 269-548-6444. You call that number, I will be gladly to assist you. And don't let me forget this, I also give out referrals as well. So 2 referrals will get you 1 hour free. So tell your people to tell their people, and your friends to tell their friends. Y'all come on down to Young Kings Studio. Thank you.
What are the alternatives to, I guess, the shortage of infant formula and with I guess the building interest? So that's another question too. Is the interest of breastfeeding gone up, and you know, is the interest of breastfeeding going to be able to meet that formula shortage here in Kalamazoo? And if not, what are you all thinking that can happen? I know Skitzo mentioned something with the athletes, and that is that something that mothers can do? Sokhna, I think you alluded to that. I was like, no, that's not going to work. Like, mothers shouldn't be swapping milk. But you did say that infants, that is more for babies than adults.
It is. It's our bodies make it for babies, right, to grow. Katie, go ahead, take this. I love your.
I'm sorry. Well, so I'm not gonna name the organization I work for, just because I don't want to get in trouble. But I'm gonna just tell you that the organization I work for, there was a formula recall a week ago today, of all Similac formula. And it is a Michigan plant where the salmonella bacteria was found. However, this recall has affected the formula that's worldwide, that's been shipped worldwide. But I would say because it's the plant that had the bacteria is here in Michigan, it's probably affecting us a little bit more. And so I can tell you the last week has been a very chaotic at work. We're getting phone calls from desperate parents who have been feeding their children cow's milk. Feeding a 2-month-old baby cow's milk will destroy a baby's stomach. Feeding their babies water. Feeding a baby water below the age of 6 months is not recommended. And feeding their babies like 2-month-old babies food. It's a crisis right now. And I just want to kind of preface what I'm about to say with just saying that this is a crisis that, and unfortunately, this is affecting a lot of lower income moms who depend on that particular formula. And before the recall last Friday, there was a shortage because of the pandemic. So now the recall has made the shortage worse. And even though now some parents, are turning to different brands other than Similac, a lot of the shelves are bare. So I just wanted to preface like that with, that's what's going on right now. And that's why we're here talking about this. Now, I'm going to give a little history lesson. So the breastfeeding rate has been slowly climbing since 1972. In 1972, the breastfeeding rate was the lowest it's ever been. It was at 22%. in the United States. In the late 60s, the US had some of the highest malnutrition rates of children in the world for industrialized countries. And so breastfeeding was really pushed as a public health initiative in the late 60s and early 70s. And our organizations like WIC, Women, Infants, and Children, was started in the early 70s to address this malnutrition rate and the low breastfeeding rates. And so since 1972, the breastfeeding rates have climbed. Now, in the hospital, the initiation rate nationwide hovers around, like, I think it's 82 or 84%, which sounds pretty good, right? But initiation rate, we're talking about 2 minutes at the breast, okay? But day 3, that the rate of any breastfed infant goes down quite tremendously, about 60-something%. And obviously regionally, it's different regionally, but that's the nationwide average. And then 3 months out, it is what it is. I think it's like 30-something% or something like that. And I can, anybody can look at those numbers on the CDC website. But it's important to understand this because those numbers and people's experiences, the clinical experience I have talking to moms every day who struggle to breastfeed because of barriers. They want to breastfeed. Everyone I talk to wants to breastfeed. So when you have rates of 30-something% at 3 months, and the recommendation by the WHO is to breastfeed your children for 2 years and beyond, and the worldwide average of breastfeeding is 3 to 4 years. That means in other parts of the world, and we're talking Islamic countries, communist countries where people don't have the freedoms we have, they're breastfeeding their babies until they're 3-4 years old. Why is it in the US, and then everyone I talk to anecdotally wants to breastfeed, but the breastfeeding rates are so low? So we have to ask ourselves, it's not just culturally, and if it is culturally, and that's one aspect, but it's also the policies that we have in this country. We are the only industrialized country that doesn't have any paid family leave for at least a year. And that a year is what a woman needs to have her body heal from having a baby, from giving birth. And we have some of the highest infant mortality rates. Kalamazoo has in the top 5 highest mortality rate of Black babies in the whole country of the United States, Kalamazoo County. And we, as the United States, have the highest maternal mortality rate out of any industrialized countries, including some developing countries, third world countries. And so we have to ask ourselves, and obviously this is all interconnected. It's not just breastfeeding. Breastfeeding is simply a symptom, like the lack of breastfeeding is really simply a symptom of the bigger issue of these public policies that help address people's basic needs. When someone's basic needs are met, they can flourish, they can grow, they can be creative, they can be ingenuitive. And so in Canada, I have a friend who's a lactation consultant, and she's the only one for 100 miles. And why is she the only one for 100 miles? Because they don't need them. Our job is obsolete in Canada because they might take the occasional case of somebody who's really tongue-tied or has really a hard time breastfeeding. But the barriers that women have to breastfeeding are contrived. They are made. They are purposefully made, but culturally, certainly culture is there too. But it is literally the underlying issue of like our public policies in this country and how we support people with their basic needs. This is a basic need. So going back to the shortage and the recall, we have babies who are starving this last week, literally starving. I'm not exaggerating. The organization I work for, we are getting phone calls every day from parents crying on the phone. Parents going to the ER looking for formula for their babies. They don't know what to do because they have been conditioned by our culture to think that they have to formula feed or that they can't breastfeed or it's going to be hard, and they're certainly not supported to breastfeed. So I just had to get that off my chest. I'm sorry, I just went on a tangent. So I'll let you respond too.
Wow.
That was everything, Katie. That was everything. And Skitzo, I'm looking at you like, what? Like, you need to know. You need to know that Kalamazoo is in this crisis. And there's an organization called Cradle. You may have seen the signs about Cradle and the 4 dad signs of the fathers holding their babies. And that's what these organizations are about, to protect our women. We are in trouble. And why is it? Why do we have to have organizations about Black mothers do breastfeed, Black mothers in support of breastfeed? Why do we even have to have an organization like that when Black women are the mothers of this world? Black women are the mothers. We talk about, can we talk about generations of people who are even alive because a Black woman fed somebody in their family?
Well, this is
Can we
Black
just talk
History
about
Month.
that?
You know, let's go down that road.
Can we talk about this? But yet our mothers are so not supported. I want to tell you everything that Katie said is true. But I'd like to back up also and bring in that in addition to the formula shortage, we have a donor milk shortage. And this is very important. And I say this very tenderly because some things happened over the last 2 years and they're affecting breastfeeding. So we have a donor milk. Donor milk is when women come together and they bring their milk in and they go to the hospital and they blend it. They're vetted, they're tested, and they make sure the milk is clean, and then it's pasteurized and it's all stacked. And it's provided to babies in NICU, babies who are very ill, babies who are born 21 weeks, 24 weeks, extremely premature babies who survive, y'all, who survive. And the reason why that is because if you give small babies like that formula, they have something called necrotizing, a virus that comes in and destroys their intestines. Okay, so literally it starts to rot the intestines. So they can only have donor milk, or if their mothers can pump or express their own milk, they can give it, and then it's healing to the babies. It grows those tiny babies, and they can't latch, they can't get on the breast, so they have to pump, and we drop those little dropperfuls of colostrum and human milk like little birds into their mouth or with a spoon, or supplement it with a tube into the babies. And that's what we're doing. So I know it's amazing, Skitzo. It's totally amazing. So we already had a shortage of donor milk bottles. The bottles that we store, these very specific bottles that donor milk comes in, or that they store it in, because it can be frozen, reheated, and stored at these very deep temperatures. Those bottles are not being shipped, or they are stuck off in one of these container ships due to the supply chain. So there was nothing to store the donor milk in, so they can't distribute it to the babies. So that was already happening. And now we have the formula shortage, and now they can't even ask for donor milk. So this is a huge, desperate crisis that we're in. In addition to that, I called for a family who was calling to ask if they can have donor milk. I called the breast milk bank, and I was told just yesterday, we're now having a milk shortage because the mothers are coming in and they can't use the breast milk because they're full of THC. So they can't give the donor milk to babies because they're full of THC. And the reason why you can't, so anybody can breastfeed their baby, anybody can feed their baby anything they want. Breast milk is great. It's made for babies, and it has incredible life-giving ingredients in it. It's always good. But when you give, it's THC, smoking pot, smoking marijuana, cannabis, it's legal for adults, but it's not legal for newborn babies. Cannabis, the THC in cannabis is stored in the fat in our bodies. Breast milk is mostly fat. Breasts are fat. The muscle underneath is the muscle, but breasts are fat. Underneath the arms, the butt, the belly, that's all fat. That's where THC is stored, in the hair. So when a mother is feeding her baby, if she's been smoking marijuana, it's stored in her breast milk, in the fat of the breast milk. Babies developing brains are mostly fat. So it's going to the baby's brains. And then we're not seeing anything immediately per se around babies because we can't tell what is it going to do. There's no research on it. This is all new. However, they're noticing children who have been exposed to it from age 2 to 3 to 4 to 5. They're having exhibits of emotional outbursts and other emotional indications that something has been changed. This is what we're looking at. And when I'm
We're
counseling,
coming up on 3 minutes.
okay, love. When I'm counseling parents, I give them this information. Katie and I, we educate parents. We want them to know this very conversation that we're having. We have this conversation with our families all the time. They ask every question that you can imagine. And we want to find out all of the information to share with them so that they can make the decision to breastfeed or not. And so if we've made our babies for 9 months, 6 more months to feed this baby till they can have some food, that's what we're trying to get them to do. And if you want to go on and then the parent happens to get, just really on a great nourishing track and they stay on that track, fabulous. Or if they choose to smoke, they're going to know what they're doing, what they're taking into their body and how it may or may not affect their babies. We just don't know right now. But right now we're in a crisis because of the pandemic. It has affected so many things, and we're still at the top of this iceberg. We just don't know what it's going to look like. A lot of information.
Okay, so before we spend another moment talking about what you do, let's spend at least 60 seconds telling people where they can find you and how they can reach out, Facebook's, social media sites, whatever.
The Breastfeeding Coalition, you can, the website is, we do have a Facebook page, so you can find us on Facebook, but the actual website is kzoobfcoalition.org. But that, the link to the website is on the Facebook page. What's great about our website is that we have a whole list of breastfeeding support resources. So we have online resources, we have resources specific for African-American families, and we have resources, local resources. And then there's also my personal phone number is on our website. Anyone can call me anytime. I'm available on call outside of business hours. And even if it's just like for a short chat on the phone for any kind of support with breastfeeding.
Yeah, you can reach me there. Katie, I don't know if my phone number is on the site, but we can put it up there. I don't mind at all. And then on social media, you can reach me on Messenger, my Facebook Messenger, or whatever it's called. Y'all, what's it called now? Sokhna Heather Mabin is my name. You can find me there. People are welcome. This is what we do. I was at a birth today. Young mama gave birth this morning. She latched, 16 years old. She's breastfeeding her baby. We're texting back and forth. I've been looking at my phone right now, just supporting her with lots of questions. She wasn't sure if she wanted to do it. And then she's like, this is so easy. Oh my God. She's just fresh and just a baby herself, but we're going to be there to support. It needs a lot of support. Breastfeeding takes support. It's a whole change. The parent isn't pregnant anymore. Now they have a baby that they're going to have to make decisions for, protect, encourage, speak for, that's what we do. So yeah, the Kalamazoo Breastfeeding Coalition, reach out to us. We're here to help you.
And I think that's so awesome that some of the clients that you're working with, as you said, are as young as 16, the babies themselves, that whole mindset that she was willing to do that. So that is sounds like a positive trajectory on being able to change the mind shift of a generation of young women, or young persons that are lactating, and being able to provide that superfood for the next generation of folks that are going to be ruling or governing this world.
That's right. That's right. So you said something a little while ago. I think that it's a great place to throw in this. Katie, this book, Skimmed, Skimmed, I'm not recalling who the author is of this book, but it's a great book. Everyone needs to read it. So in the 20th century, in the 30s or 40s, I'm not sure what year it was, there were 4 beautiful baby girls, identical quadruplets, natural quadruplets, born to a woman, a Black woman, Native woman. And she was deaf. And she was a sharecropper, and her husband's a sharecropper. And these natural, beautiful babies were born. And the doctor who delivered them thought that they were absolutely magical. They're so beautiful. They're on the cover of the book. And he decided, we should use these babies to push formula. So they are the first faces of formula. And these little babies were used to promote formula to Black people, Native people, people of color, and pushed and pushed and pushed. And this is one way that they had breastfeeding move away, like it's the new modern thing to do. And it's going to give you more time, and it's going to put you in the workforce and all the things. Now you have a way to feed your baby, you want to be with them. It is a horrible story. I'm thinking that the fourth one died recently. They died impoverished. This is from the pet milk company, where you get condensed milk, that little pet milk can.
Yeah.
That's the company that did it. The doctor named the babies after his own family. They were all named Mary Catherine, Mary Teresa, Mary whatever. They're all named Mary with a second name, all of the women in his family. The little girls were taken around the world, shown off to kings and queens and all kinds of things. And they died completely impoverished. The family saw nothing, no money, nothing. It's another Henrietta Lacks story. So where, like, we want to get to the root of what this whole situation is about. Formula is something that is made for families if they need it. We're going to keep babies alive. We're going to feed them. We're going to let our babies die. There are rare genetic situations where a baby can't take breast milk. We had to come up with something. Thank God it's there. But it's not the thing we should be giving babies to eat just because we don't feel like breastfeeding. When it comes to latching a baby to the breast, if it hurts, there's a reason why it hurts. And Katie and I and the other lactation consultants and counselors all around here in Kalamazoo and all over, our job is to make sure that we find out why it hurts. Is it the latch of the baby? Is it the shape of the baby's mouth? Is the baby biting mama? What can we do to help that feel more comfortable? Because when it's the perfect match, it doesn't hurt. So hurt, pain, right? It's an indication that something needs to be adjusted. We need to find a new position, something like that. But there are reasons. It's also an indication if the mother's not making enough milk. We need to find out why she's not making enough milk. It could be a health indication to her. Maybe some of the placenta is still in her belly, which is dangerous. Maybe she's not emptying her breast enough. You have to empty your breast to make more milk. If they don't empty, you're not going to make enough milk. This is not an easy thing. It's quite complicated, actually. But coming to us for counseling and finding out what's going on by FaceTiming, Zooming, coming in person, meeting in person, we can figure out what's going on and then make a referral for their support.
So I'm actually looking up what's in Similac, because I actually used to feed my children formula. I tried to breastfeed, but I didn't have all the healthy habits, early on. How long, for folks that don't know, how long would a container of formula last a typical infant? And how expensive would formula be versus a woman breastfeeding?
Why don't you take that, Katie?
So there's a lot of different formulas, so I can't give you like any solid number, but the organization called WIC, Women, Infant, and Children's, it's a supplemental nutrition program, and many low-income families receive WIC benefits. And the key word is supplemental. So the WIC benefits don't cover. They provide formula for families if they want. They also provide breastfeeding support too. So not all WIC families formula feed. But the ones that do, they typically get, I believe it's 9 cans a month. And I think it changes as the baby, I don't know the details, but I think it changes as the baby grows. But on average, a family with WIC benefits will have to come up with about $150 to $300 a month on top of the WIC benefits that they already get. Is cash. And now obviously there's different types of formula. Maybe you can get it free from the food bank. Maybe you can, use the off-brand formula. So once those WIC benefits run out, they have to come up with formula to feed their babies because it's not the full amount. Now, if they have a medically fragile baby, they're going to be coming up with a lot more money a month, because the formula for medical fragile babies is much more expensive. There's a type of formula, I can't remember the name of it, but it comes in liquid form, and it's for medical fragile babies, and it's about $80 a case, and a case is about 12 8-ounce bottles. And that's not very much. So they'll be dropping a serious cash if they do have a medical for fragile baby. So this is important to note. So if they don't receive WIC benefits, so they're going to be coming up with a lot more money, comparatively. Now with breastfeeding, obviously they're making breast milk. Some people say it's free, and I say free in quotation marks. So it is free. However, it does take time. So that's the trade-off, right? There's the issue of body autonomy. Some women have experienced trauma, like with their breasts, and they maybe don't feel comfortable with breastfeeding. They might choose pumping. So there's moms who exclusively pump. Well, pumping actually takes more time than breastfeeding, because it's just more mechanical, and you have to wash the parts, and then most insurances cover a breast pump. So there's just, it gets pretty complicated. So I don't want to say that it's free compared to formula, but it's also about a paradigm shift. So this is something that I talk about with pregnant moms that I think is really important, relating to what I just said about, what body autonomy and things being free. So, and actually Sokhna mentioned this earlier. We are pregnant with our babies for 9 months typically. And there's something called the 4th trimester, which doesn't make sense mathematically, right? Because a trimester means 3. But anyway, bear with me. So there's something called the 4th trimester. And what that means is that human babies are bipedal, meaning we walk on 2 legs. We're not like horses and goats. We don't walk on 4 legs. So if you look at newborn horses and goats, they stand up right after they give birth, and they're walking around with their parents. Human babies don't walk until they're about a year old, give or take. And so they're meant to be held for a millennia. Since the beginning of human existence, we have held our babies. And that is what's normal, and that is what's natural. And it's only been in the last 80 to 100 years that we have had the separation of mother and baby. And so we are meant to hold our babies. And so what I say to parents is, even though you might feel overwhelmed at times, and it feels like it's taking a lot of time to breastfeed, it's about a paradigm shift. We have to shift our thinking, and that this is what's normal and natural, and holding our babies, we breastfeed them. If you look at different countries around the world, they have come up with tools and ways to hold their babies and get work done. So we call that baby wearing. And so I want to give you a really perfect personal example. My youngest son, who is 9 years old, when he was born, I started working as an activity helper at my other kids' school. So I worked in the lunchroom and at recess. And my son was 3 weeks old when I started. I wore him in a baby sling, which is like a piece of cloth. Essentially, he was wrapped in a piece of cloth next to my body. And I walked around that lunchroom and breastfed him, and he slept, and he grew, and he was with me every day, attached to me, until the end of the school year in June, when he was on my back and he was bouncing around. And so I was able to do a job and baby wear him and breastfeed him. Obviously, not everyone has the opportunity, but it's just giving an example of how I made it work, and he was able to be breastfed. And this is very normal throughout the world. Mamas put their babies on their backs. My husband, he's from Senegal in West Africa. He actually has memories of being on his mom's back when he was little, being worn on his mother's back when he was little. So this is very normal in other parts of the world, and it's becoming more normalized here. But the point of what that story is, that in this country, culturally, we have this culture of separating moms and babies, right? Separating them by carrying them in car seats. How many times you see somebody lug a big heavy car seat with a little baby inside of it? around the grocery store or, into a doctor's appointment. Take that baby out of the car seat and carry them. They're meant to be held. And so the culture of breastfeeding is the culture of wearing your baby. It's the culture of holding your baby. And it's what we were meant to do for a millennia. And hey, dads can hold babies too. Dads can wear babies too. So yeah.
Thank you for that, Katie. And Sokhna, you had mentioned this, so I looked up Similac. The first few ingredients that I can pronounce. First one, non-fat milk. Second one, lactose. Third one, high oleic sunflower oil. Fourth one, whey protein concentrate, soy oil, coconut oil. Then the list goes on to some things that I cannot pronounce. Chlorine, nitrate, chlorine chloride, garbage. We're feeding our babies garbage. I didn't realize that even as a young mother, I couldn't breastfeed like I wanted to. I didn't realize that I was feeding my babies garbage like that.
Well, it's food. It's just not food that a tiny baby is ready to eat, but they can eat it. And so when babies eat it, so babies are born and they have a particular biome. They have a particular gut flora, right? And breast milk feeds a particular flora in the baby, and it evolves and grows and matures until they can eat this food that we eat as adults. Mm-hmm. Formula has food in it that has all the nutrients in it, but it's not the food that is so delicate in particular just for a newborn gut health. You understand? So like we as adults can handle that stuff. That's in all of our food. However, newborn guts, newborn bellies, newborn tummies, it's just going to activate the bacteria, the enzymes, all the things that are going to process it, which would normally come in with food around 6, 7, 8 months. Do you understand? Mm-hmm. So it's food that's in there because it has the nutrients. They put it in. And yes, you're right. You can get soy-based, you can get milk-based, you can get, those are the two, right? Milk-based or soy-based formula. There's organic, there's all kinds of different whey bases to it. And then they're going to add the different nutrients that a baby can eat. Yeah, and this is what the education is about. When we have to, breastfeeding, supplementing, breastfeeding being the first food. If it's not enough, if the baby needs more, then supplementing with formula, but baby's getting both, And so it's a great question. And I think when people read that, when they read those ingredients, why are those things in there? There's absolutely a shelf life to formula, and it should not be used if the shelf life is expired, because that's dangerous. That's expired food, right? We would eat food.
I'm even guilty of myself. Supplementing a formula with a little bit of cereal in there, thinking it up, they, feed, all the time. But I'm just amazed at all the information that you two shared this evening on the show. Even, as a seasoned mother, it's still amazing me just the advances of just breastfeeding. Are you talking about the paradigm shift and just all these like different nuances that are apparent with this? I'm just in awe. And unfortunately, we lost Skitzo, my co-host. His technology didn't hold enough power, but I'm plugged in with my desktop, so I have unlimited. But ladies, before I let you go, I don't want to continue to monopolize too much of your Friday, because it is beginning of the weekend. Is there anything else that you would like to share as far as your own researcher journey and the work that you do with the Breastfeeding Coalition?
Well, we meet every third Wednesday of the month. Everyone, you are invited to join us. Please come to our website, send us your email address, your contact information. We will add you to our meeting. We meet at 11:30 to 1 o'clock the third Wednesday of every single month. We have Majyck, we could have you come in and speak. We have breastfeeding advocates come, parents come, pediatricians, infant chiropractors, you name it. They are welcome to the meeting. We have a featured guest. Sometimes we're talking about policies. Sometimes we're talking about laws that need to be made or changes. We're making connections in the community. That's what that conversation is about. We would love for people who have infants or breastfed their children or bottle fed their children or anything with any questions that they have to come to the meeting and share the information. So that's the third Wednesday of every single month. We're meeting the Kalamazoo Breastfeeding Coalition.
Now, is that
Katie,
in
do you want to
person or Zoom
Oh,
link?
it's virtual right now. We're still meeting virtually.
Okay.
I just want to, something that you said, Majyck, about, formula feeding your babies and, not having the opportunity to breastfeed. I want people to know, and I want parents to know that Sokhna and I are both, our intention is to never to shame moms or shame families. We understand that the reason breastfeeding is so challenging in this moment, or I should say can be challenging, because it doesn't have to be, is because of a lot of these barriers I talked about that are beyond our control. These are the barriers that are the same barriers that people have towards health equity, right? So this is an equity issue. And so that's the lens at which we practice breastfeeding support. So we have moms who supplement, and we have moms who've never breastfed before, and this is their first time, and they might have 6 children, and this is their 7th. We have moms who are very, very young, who are 15, 16, 17. And so we meet people where they are, and we just want to help provide support for people in their lactation journey, wherever that is. So
Awesomeness. And can you share, what is your website?
It's on our Facebook page, but I will verbally say it. It's KazooBFCoalition.org.
All right. Thank you so much. Sokhna, Katie, thank you so much for sharing valuable information with us on street politics and the impact that the infant formula shortage has right here in Kalamazoo. We appreciate all that you do on the front lines, and you are always welcome on Street Politics.
Love it. Thank you so much, Majyck.
Thank
Amazing.
Thank you so much, Majyck. Yeah.
Thank you.
Peace. Good night.
Peace.
Good night.
All right.